All right, so the Toronto Maple Leafs have hired former Philadelphia head coach Dave Hakstol as their new assistant coach in charge of the penalty kill and their team defense. Now, that was a position that was previously held by DJ Smith, who now, of course, is the head coach of the Ottawa Senators. Hakstol was last seen as an assistant coach for Team Canada at the Worlds. This was his second time around, and in both cases, Team Canada ended up with a silver medal. Now, he's currently in charge of improving a Leafs defense that gave up the 12th most goals against per game last season at 3.04. The NHL actually calls it 16th, but when you have three teams tied for first and the next team is ranked as the fourth team, not as the second. Anyways, I call it 12th. NHL calls it 16th. Tomato, tomato. Now, the penalty kill. Leafs penalty kill ranked 13th during the season with a 79.9% success rate. But in the playoffs, in 7 games against the Boston Bruins this past season, it had a 56.3% success rate. Just bloody abysmal. Just awful. Now, of course, Smith took a bit of flack for that, but I guess you got to take that with a grain of salt too, because Boston's power play pretty much was unstoppable. The only team that finally put it to bed somewhat, in any case, was the St. Louis Blues, of course, in the finals, and they only did that in the last 4 or 5 games versus the Bruins. Just a quick insert here. I almost forgot to tell you about Dave Hakstol's career numbers, mostly as a coach, a little bit as a player. For the Flyers, as the head coach, he went 134, 101, and 42 during the regular season for 277 games between the years of 2015 and 18, including a pair of postseason appearances between 2016 and 18. They got defeated one of those years when Pittsburgh was on their way to the Stanley Cup. Now, Hakstol was fired December 18, 2018, after the Flyers got off to a 12-15-4 start for their campaign, which including losing 11 of his last 14 games behind the bench. Now, prior to joining the Flyers, Hakstol spent 11 seasons as the head coach of the University of North Dakota, leading the school to 7 Frozen Four appearances, which is part of the reason why the GM at the time, Ron Hextall, probably gave him the job in the first place. Now, he was actually a player, a right-shot defenseman, mind you, Leaf fans who desperately need one right now, between the years of 1989 and 1996. He never played in the NHL, though. He played in the WCHA and the IHL. Now, his coaching career started in 1996, right after his playing career stopped with the Sioux City Musketeers until 2000 as the head coach. He then came back to the University of North Dakota in 2000 as an assistant coach for the first season, an associate for the next 3 seasons, and then finally became the head coach there in 2004 until 2015, and never had a winning percentage that was less than .605. Back to the video. As a Leaf fan, I'm not sure how I feel about this hiring. I mean, I've been reading a lot of stuff on social media, through fans, and I've been reading up a lot of Philadelphia journalists' view on, Hakstol's tenure and so on and so forth. And the fans hate him. They can't stand him. And, that's justified. I mean, he made some really poor player management decisions in Philly, especially with the goaltenders. He was just running them into the ground. Guys who weren't used to being a regular and just playing them night after night after night after night until they got injured, just riding them too hard as opposed to bouncing back and forth between guys. And then the whole team defense really just didn't look good either. Guys just way out of position all the time. How much of that is to blame on Dave Hakstol as it is their assistant coach who was in charge of the penalty kill and the team defense, like Hakstol's now in charge for Toronto, Ian LaPierre. How much fault of that is his? I mean, Philly was always in the bottom 3 during Hakstol's tenure anyways as coach. in the league when it came to goals against and penalty kill for that matter. So, assistant, head coach, probably a little bit of both. Got to Brent some of the responsibility there. Now, some of the journalists have suggested that it's hard to put a lot of blame on Hakstol. They feel that if they had some average goaltending at the very least, because their goaltending save percentage was always near the bottom 2-3 of the league, that he might have not been fired, at least not at that point in time, behind the Philly bench. But was he ever going to be a great coach? No, they don't think so either. The idea is that he might be a lot better as an NHL assistant coach. Because they say he has a great nose for detail and that he's a tireless worker. And that just sounds like fluff to me, really. What does that really mean? To me, I sort of interpret that as, okay, he's not a great multitasker and is not the great at player management, especially when he's got to, look over the forwards, the defense, and the goalies and so on and so on and so forth. Maybe with a more focused role, he might excel at it. And like I said, I'm cautiously optimistic. There it is. About him stepping behind the bench. We'll see what happens. Some of the most pessimistically fans have been suggesting that when the Leafs the Leafs will probably take a step back this coming season. Babcock will get fired at some point. Hakstol will step behind the bench, in which case they'll be pretty poor. And then the season after that is when they bring in Sheldon Keefe, currently a head coach of the Toronto Marlies, Toronto's AHL affiliate. We'll see what happens there. Yes, throw some sprinkles into the flame of drama right there. Now, some other Leaf news here. The Toronto has re-signed 27-year-old left-shot defenseman Martin Marincin. Moment of silence, please. Here. He's at best like ninth on the depth chart. I'm hoping really that he sits in the press box, if not all season long. Now, Martin Marincin is good at one thing, at stopping zone entries. Excuse me. And that's about it. He's awful with the puck. Zone exits, handling the puck in his own zone. Just not. I mean, he has a decent shot from the blue line, offensively speaking, that he uses once in a blue moon, but he's slow. And his thing is, now as I said, he's 27. He's tall and he's lanky and he's got a lot of reach. So that's why he's good at denying zone entries. But yeah, you don't want to have him playing on a regular basis whatsoever. In other news, it's official that backup 29-year-old Mike Hutchinson has been signed on for one more year at a league base of $700,000. Now, I did a video on this earlier this week. You can go check that on my playlist. What's going to happen with Garrett Sparks? He signed for one more year at $750,000 before he becomes a UFA. They'll probably trade him or try and waive him down the Marlies. I don't even know what he's going to do in the Marlies if he does go down there, because it looks like the Leafs want to take their two premier goalie prospects and run with them in net in both the AHL and the ECHL. And I'm talking about specifically, I keep on mixing up their first and last names, Joseph Wall and Ian Scott. One of them is going to start for the Marlies, one for the Growlers in the ECHL. Now, the latest rumors on Zaitsev, which is currently lighting up Twitter, is that there's been talk of him going to Ottawa. If you don't know Nikita Zaitsev, he's like the Leafs' only right-shot defenseman who has played 3 seasons with them so far. He's signed for 5 more years at $4.5 million. His first season, he was great. He played mostly with Morgan Riley, and he had some offensive kick to him. But in the last two seasons, he's been expected to play more of a defensive kind of responsibility, and he hasn't done so well. Now, he actually improved quite a bit playing along Jake Muzzin in the playoffs. Against Boston, they kind of became the de facto shutdown duo there. So maybe there's some hope for him, in a different kind of coaching style position. Again, DJ Smith, who's now head coach of the Ottawa Senators, was Toronto's defense and PK assistant coach. So maybe there's a relationship there that will help him blossom more. Now I hear when his no trade clause, his modified no trade movement clause kicks in. I want to say was it Monday or something that Ottawa I think is on that list. So Leafs might want to trade him there before then. But the July 1st is when his bonus money of his $3 million payment is supposed to be handed out. So I think they're waiting at least till that happens. Then he's traded. And the rumor, if I haven't mentioned already, is Cody Ceci coming back the other way, which really isn't too much better. But Cody Ceci is younger. He's 25. I think I believe he's a slight improvement or over Zaitsev, at least during the regular season anyways. And he's an RFA with arbitration rights, which makes sense because Ottawa doesn't want to pay anyone. And with Zaitsev at 4.5, at least they know what he's making. He's got experience already, 3 years of it. I don't know. Now, in terms of Toronto Maple Leafs salary cap, they're at just over $5.5 million at the moment after those couple of small signings there. Don't forget they have Nathan Horton on the IR, and that's worth another $5.3 million, which brings up the total now to 10, just under 11 million. Which most of it Mitch Marner is probably gonna eat up. But the Leafs defense, right side especially, is just so porous right now. It's after Riley and Muzzin, they have Dermott, who's not going to be shoulder surgery because of shoulder surgery. He's not going to be back till like November. Nikita Zaitsev's gone. Jake Gardner's gone. Ron Hainsey, I don't know if they can even afford to re-sign him. He plays the right side, but he's a left shot defenseman, and he's 38 years old. Anyways, I can go on forever about this. Please let me know what you think of this Dave Hakstol hiring. Leaf fans and Philly fans, I'd love to hear your opinion on this one. How you think he's going to do in Toronto? If he's better suited maybe as an assistant than as a head coach. Don't forget, by the way, I didn't mention it. Maybe I did. Dave Hakstol, is a right shot defenseman. That's just funny. I wanted to bring that up again. If you want to talk about the signings and maybe the Zaitsev rumors as well, please let me know what you have to say in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon.